Check out this cool Gibson box. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Epiphone recently brought back the Mandobird, which is a mandolin version of a Firebird, and I've always been fascinated with these things. The old ones looked like this. Kind of a P-bass looking pickup. There were 8 and 4 string varieties, as well as some custom colors outside of the regular sunbursts, and they were made in Indonesia. But let's go ahead and check out the new version. This thing is so tiny and well packed, it's crazy. But here we go. Something about shrunken down guitars being other instruments. It's like the silly ukuleles that Epiphone makes that look like hummingbirds. This one's along those same lines, but it's not as corny as those like really tiny, not that good looking display things. So if you need a little desk thing that looks like a Firebird, I would totally go for this. But what's changed this time is we actually have a full-size Firebird pickup this, so it's just like what you'd probably find in one of the lower-end versions of the Epiphone Firebirds, but you have kind of like a Stratocaster-style bridge on it, just a master volume and a master tone, so kind of like a Firebird 1, except for neck pickup rather than bridge. But check this out, we even have binding along it and the trapezoid fret markers. That is a huge upgrade this time over the other ones. And you still have your Firebird-esque headstock, just not the banjo-style tuners, but hey, I totally understand it for these. So I don't really know much about mandolins, I just thought it was cool, wanted to buy it, make a video on it. But traditionally, Firebirds are neck-through construction. This one is just the look. But at least they still gave you the ridges on the top to make it look correct. It's still a bolt-on, and I was curious where they were making this new batch. It's China. So the first batches are mainly Indonesia, so if that means anything to you, maybe that's something to keep in mind. Oh man, I just realized this. Even our knobs are smaller than usual. But it looks like we're rocking these things string through. We do have a comfort cut. But I really want to talk about the packaging. So if you buy one of these like direct out of store, they're $400. This is what you're going to get. It's a nice little Epiphone gig bag. I mean, it's nothing too crazy, but it's got decent padding. Even has shoulder straps. That's nicer than it needs to be. But if you get it shipped from like the Gibson garage or something, they've got this box, which just looks like your regular triangular Epiphone box shape. Well, that's where your normal Epiphone stickers and paperwork's at. But then the outer box, I just thought this thing was so cool. So Gibson makes really fancy high-end mandolins that are like $20,000. This is not one of those, but it's got one of their fancy headstocks on the outside. And Gibson USA used to have boxes like these. I think that was the late 2010s era before they switched over into their more plain looking one. But you've got your Tree of Life inlay pattern with your frets all mandolinified. I just thought that's cool enough to share. But so far at this time, you can only get the Tobacco Sunburst. There's only the 4-string version, so you could technically use this as an electric ukulele if you really wanted to. But I'm hoping this is a staggered release and they'll also do an 8-string version, but make it like a Firebird 7, which is like Les Paul custom appointments with block inlays, ebony fretboard. But to learn more about this particular one, let's go ahead and throw it on the workbench, take an individual look at its parts and specs, and then try to struggle through a playing demo. This was about what I was expecting to see. It's just your regular Epiphone Firebird pickup. It says designed by Epiphone USA with a manufacturer date of November of 2011. But it's really interesting how they do the pickup route. So we already talked about the faux neck through construction here. They just cut that area out so you can put your pickup into it. So your route doesn't even have that raised section around it. But that looks pretty clean. That pickup reads 7.95K ohms within the circuit and is controlled by a master volume and a master tone. The knobs are just a little bit over a 1/2 inch. According to the spec sheets, they're using NATO wood for the body. I don't really know too much about that. It sure does look close to mahogany. I suppose if you're a real aficionado of neck-through Firebirds, you will notice one thing different about the center stripe. It doesn't have the walnut pieces going in between. And here's the tiny Firebird pickguard, including your Firebird guy up here. Pretty decent quality there. This appears to just be single ply. And if you wanted to run it without a pickguard, unfortunately, no. You would be left with these wires exposed, and some screw holes. But just as a reference for size, where the body begins and ends, it's about 12 inches. And about 9 at the widest if you go to that horn. And here's an up-close look at that bridge with 4 different saddles for intonation. And now we can move on to our neck. The spec sheet calls it a mahogany neck with an Indian laurel fretboard, but it's got some nice wood grain to it. So it's very rosewood-like, but the tiny trapezoid inlays, it's such a nice touch on these. And they've got some decent figuring to them. for being acrylic. But I get a 1.2 inch nut width, increasing to 1.38 at the 12th. First fret neck depth 0.86, and about 1 inch at the 12th. I mean, I guess it is kind of a fuller feeling neck, but it's so strange to me as a guitar player because the neck is so skinny this way. But it does utilize a 12-inch fretboard radius with a 13.779 inch scale. Here's what our headstock looks like with the truss rod cover off. The cover is just single ply, 3-screw version, black, and it's just your standard import truss rod style. And you've got your Epiphone logo running up the edge, and you do have the reverse Firebird headstock here. Now, usually when they have the H-string version, they just line them up along here. So, I mean, it seems like it could be possible if you wanted to convert this into an H-string mandolin, be a little bit more traditional. You just have to slot another one right here. Mainly guitar players watch my show, so if you don't know, an 8-string mandolin, it's kind of like a 12-string guitar. They double every single one, and you kind of have some octave situations going on. You would just have to modify your bridge and maybe string through setup. I was kind of curious, what tunings could you use on this? I'm not a mandolin player. I have no interest in playing this as a mandolin today, so I decided to try it as guitar tuning, just without the top 2 strings. So we got an EADG, just in a different octave. And so far, it actually seems to hold tune okay. If you wanted to use this as an electric ukulele, you might have to put a new nut on it, because this one has the lowest string right here, and the ukulele has the highest one right there. But if you're a guitar player looking to get one of these, just know the tiny scale length will take some getting used to. I mean, there's hardly any room between the top frets. But I did notice a really bad QC issue. There is a chip out of my fretboard right there. It looks like it could have potentially been a knot in the wood that they just didn't see. But it definitely catches your eye from the side as you're playing this. But here's maybe a better look at that neck profile. It definitely chunks up a lot right here as it gets to the heel where it gets bolted onto the body. As far as the neck shape, it's more so a V. Here it is at the 1st fret and at the 12th fret. Just gets a little bit wider as you go. But as you flip over to the back side, it becomes an all black guitar. So I'm curious, are they actually using nicer veneers over the top and making these out of multi pieces? I cannot confirm nor deny that, but it certainly wouldn't surprise me. But here you can see the string through ferrules, and you can see the style of pots that they're using. Pots are just labeled HZ. I'm not necessarily expecting anything fantastic out of this setup, but it should work. Here's your output jack on the side. It's a football style strap button at the bottom and at the top. And no neck plate, just 4 screws with a metal bit in between. There's a closer look at our Made in China sticker as we run up the neck to see the quality sign off, and please don't throw me away. But I was impressed to see this. They're actually serializing these, and it's just like the Epiphone guitars. So that's kind of cool. You can date this one to 2023. These have been ready for a while. They were just holding them. As far as the finish quality itself, it's just your usual poly finish. It seems to scratch and fingerprint easier than others, but at the same time, it's an ebony finish. It's going to do that anyway. Just thought I'd mention it. All said and done, how much does our baby bird weigh? 3 pounds, 13.9 ounces. Let's go ahead, plug the Mandobird in, and hear how it sounds tuned like a guitar. Yeah, so as far as the tones, trying to play it like a guitar, it's just so high-pitched and squeedly-meedly, maybe not the best. It requires a light touch to not bend things out of tune, but I mean, it's fairly comfortable and fun. Maybe you could throw some, like, really heavy gauge strings if you're trying to do what I'm trying to do with this. But if you're a mandolin player, you're probably like, just play it right. But this is a guitar channel. We're trying to have some fun here. Alright, Troglodytes, I hope you had some fun with me today. Is it the best review you'll ever see of one of these? No, but at least there's one on the internet taking it apart. I had some fun, but if you want to be the next owner of this one, you can find it for sale on my website, troglysguitarshow.com. Would I necessarily suggest using this as a guitar? Not really. But there's definitely some fun projects that you could try with this if mandolin is not your main instrument. There might be better ways to tune this, like change your string gauges up so you could use it kind of like a tenor guitar, just with the shorter scale length, and have it be the DGBE tuning structure. But at the end of the day, the whole thing about the Mandobird is it's cool. It's a tiny bird. What's not to love? And if you're wondering if you have to buy a custom stand for it, no, it actually does fit in a regular string swing. It just cradles the neck a little bit diagonally. Although, it does look a little bit ridiculous on one, but that kind of makes me like it even more. But that's a good size comparison for you as compared to a regular Firebird and where it would sit. Alright, Troglodytes, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.